So containers. Containers like your indoor plants are in, or containers like your container garden on your patio. They're a little bit different than raised beds or plants in flower beds, and the reason why is that they're in such small containers. You want to fill up that pot, you want them to trail out the side, you want them to look spectacular and full. You don't want them to look empty, but what that means is then there are a lot more plants and a little bit of soil, and that soil gets depleted fairly quickly of nutrients, because in your soil in the ground, there's a lot of different things that are happening there. You're replenishing it with organic matter, you're feeding them, they've also got fungal networks that they can reach to, and they don't have any of that when they're in a container. And so with containers, you need to be switching out that soil every so often, but you can also escape it if you add a soil amendment around the edge of the plant. So if you look in my plot here, if I added a soil amendment just around the top here and just water it in, the nutrients are going to come fresh. You can sneak away with going longer between repotting them. You also need to repot every so often because they'll outgrow their pots and then they get ripped down, and that can really be detrimental to the growth of the plant. You can help boost them if you put them into larger pots. And some plants love to be pushed together, like the snake plant up here. The snake plant loves to crowd in, fill out a pot, and get root bound. Others don't like it so much. Some of the other things to consider about containers is they dry out faster. So if you got them on your patio, you're going to be needing to water them more often, potentially every day, sometimes twice a day. I've got some hanging pots that have more airflow across the bottom too, and those dry out quite rapidly as well. They look spectacular and I love them, and it's worth me having to spend a little extra time going up there. You also need to feed them more frequently, maybe not in the winter time, because as it gets colder, as these guys get less light, because this room gets a lot of light in the summer and gets less light in the winter, they need less food and they need less attention, they need less water, and it's a really great time to pay attention to your plant's needs, as well as check when you should water them and when you shouldn't. So if you want to know when you should water, you just stick your finger in and up to about 1 inch deep. If it's dry, go ahead and water. If it's still wet, don't. And if you do water when it's still wet and you're on like a schedule, I love my schedule of when I water so then I don't forget it. But if you do water them, you leave yourself open for root rot, and that is one of my best ways of killing plants is root rot. I overwater a lot of my plants and leave them sitting in wet sogginess, and they don't like it. And so how do you fix root rot in a container plant? So how you're going to fix it is you're going to actually unpot it, and you're going to take a look at all the nasty black roots, and you're going to rinse them off. And you're going to rinse off all the black. If you've got mushy roots, you're going to cut them off. You can even cut your roots. And as long as you've got some roots left that are a little bit white, even if they're not completely white, as long as they're not mushy, they're still good to use. And then you're going to repot it in some fresh soil, change it out, get rid of the old soil so it's not got that root rot bacteria in there, and start fresh. And then just make sure you're not overwatering them. And so if you're trying to fix that root rot, make sure you're watering a little bit consistently versus dumping a whole bunch of water on it and letting it sit in the moist a little bit more. And they still need water so they don't get dehydrated and they replenish their roots. It becomes easier for them to grow. And you can tell if your plant's got root rot if it's looking a little bit sad, or it's got yellow leaves and you're not quite sure why, and it looks a little bit droopy and you watered it. Check for root rot first. It's a very easy and common way to kill a plant, but it doesn't mean that once you start to see the signs that you can't fix it. And a lot of those plants will come back if you just trim off some roots and repot them